yet again to Books and Jams. I'm Krista. As you know, this is Vlogmas day whatever. And today I'm going to be talking about a little bit of wrap-up of one of my goals from 2019 and looking ahead to 2020, and we're going to be talking about classics today. In 2019, I didn't make a huge list of reading goals, but I did set a few things. I had my TBR cart, which was recommendations from you, and I'm doing that again in 2020. I had 5 authors that I wanted to read. I had 5 classics that I wanted to read, and my series shelf. So those are 3 videos that are going to kind of be in a row here. I'm not sure which order they're going to go in, but I'm going to be talking about, did I read the 5 classics? And I'm also going to say 5 more classics that I'd like to read in 2020. I'm keeping my goals very similar because it worked really well for me. So today we'll talk about the 5 classics that I wanted to read in 2019, and I have good news. I'm starting with this one because it's the only one where I had complete success. I chose 5 classics that I wanted to read in 2019, and I read all 5 of them. I'm so proud of myself. I think that's awesome. There were some chunky ones on here. I already unhauled 2 of them because I didn't like them, but I do have 3 here to talk about. One was a reread, so we'll start with that. I wanted to read Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, and I wanted to listen to the audiobook, and I did that over the summer. I listened to the audiobook of Pride and Prejudice, and it's wonderful. It was really fun to revisit this story. Persuasion is still my favorite Austen, but this is my second favorite by far. I think Lizzie Bennet is fantastic. I want to be friends with her in real life. Thought the audiobook was decent. I have no idea who the narrator was. There were so many options of narrators on Hoopla, which is where I listen to most of my audiobooks. So I just picked one of them, and I usually listen at increased speed, so it doesn't matter what the narrator's voices sounds like originally, because they all end up sounding like chipmunks a little bit. Just kidding. This was 5 stars again. I love it so much. The second book I wanted to read, oh, you know what? I lied. I don't have complete success. I DNF'd this, or I set it down for now. I started reading Cranford by Elizabeth Gaskell during Victober in October. I made it halfway. I might pick this up before the end of the month just to finish it and say that I did complete all 5. I totally forgot that I didn't finish this one. It was just too slow paced for me. I have to think of this as each chapter is almost like a little mini short story, a little vignette. There's no forward moving plot. It is not a page turner. This book takes place in this town of Cranford, and we follow all of the women in the town and like little events that happen in the town. But there's nothing really that's happening as a whole. So it wasn't moving fast enough for me. I really want to read more Elizabeth Gaskell because North and South is one of my all-time favorite classics. I absolutely love it. And I thought it was approachable writing. I didn't think the writing was difficult to comprehend or get into. It was the story itself that I was having a hard time connecting with. So I should probably pick this up and finish it so that I can not be a liar at the beginning of this video. Whoops. The other one that I want to talk about that was on my list to read in 2019, I've talked enough about in the last few videos, I feel like, in the last few months, I should say. Counting Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. This is huge, and I read it. I did listen to this on audio, mostly. There was a few times that I sat down and kind of read along while I was listening, but for the most part, I listened to this on audio as well. It was like over a 50-hour audiobook. It was ridiculously long, and it took me a few months to get through, but I did it. I did it, and I loved it. I loved it. There was a few parts in the middle that got a little slow. There was a few times that I'm like, who is this guy again? I couldn't keep all the characters straight all the time. But by the end, the way that it all came together, and yeah, it was fantastic. I feel like this will be one that I would reread down the road. Not anytime soon, but someday. Then we get to the 2 that I unhauled. I read East of Eden by John Steinbeck, and I did not care for that book. I thought it was slow. I didn't really like the characters. There was moments that I thought it was excellent. I feel like it would have been a good one to read in school, like in a class, either in college or in high school, and have a lot of discussion around the different things. I feel like that would have greatly increased my enjoyment of the book. I missed a lot of picking up on certain themes and just different aspects of the book I feel like I missed. I just want to escape into my reading, and that one did not let me do that. So I dreaded picking it up every time I went to pick it up. But I read the whole thing, and so I get to count it as a classic that I read this year that was on my list at the beginning of the year. Oh, the fifth classic that I wanted to read in 2019 was Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. Another chunky monkey book that I read, but I didn't like it. Again, I listened to most of Anna Karenina on audiobook, which I think is a great way to do it. It did take me a number of months because it was so long, but I just really didn't get into it. The main storyline is infidelity. Like, this woman leaves her husband for this affair that she has with another guy. And I just, number one, that's not my favorite to read about in books anyway. And everyone just kind of accepted it. I don't know. It was weird. I just didn't care for it. And I'm not sure if it's like a Russian classical literature thing, or if it's a Leo Tolstoy thing, or if it's just an Anna Karenina thing. But I read it. I read the whole thing. I marked it off as done. So 4 out of the 5. I don't have 100% success, but 4 out of the 5. And one, I only have probably 60 or 70 pages to go. Crazy. But now, switching gears to 2020, I have chosen, again, 5 classics that I would like to read in 2020. And again, I picked a lot of chunky books. What is my problem? But many of you will be excited to see this first one because this showed up in my recommendations video just a couple days ago when I asked you guys to help me choose books to read in 2020 that you would recommend from my own TBR shelf. And a lot of you chose Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. And I love this edition. This is a huge book, but it's less than 1,000. It's like 940 something, 950 or so pages. I read this. This is again going to be a reread for me, but I read it, maybe I was 14 or 15 years old. I was very young when I first read this book. So it's been a really long time. We won't talk about how long it's been, but it's been a really long time. So I'm really excited to revisit this one. I'm not sure when in the year that's going to happen, but this is one that I would like to read in 2020. Another classic that's chunky that I would like to read in 2020 is Wives and Daughters by Elizabeth Gaskell. This, again, is huge. What is my problem? This one has, oh, it's not as big as it looks. End note. So let's see. This is 649 pages. So really not as long as this book makes it seem. This one has been intimidating to me because Elizabeth Gaskell passed away before this was finished. And so I'm like, but wait a minute. So it's just going to leave you hanging? I don't want to read a book that's not going to be complete. But I got enough information from enough people without spoiling things that I will feel okay about the ending. It's like it's ended, but the bow didn't get put on top. It's wrapped, but the bow didn't get put on top, which is how I wrap gifts anyways. I don't put all the dressing and the extra stuff on them. So all that bad metaphor aside, I'm excited to finally get to this one. I've heard such good things about it. I recognize that it might be a slow but steady, taking the phrase from Currently Reading podcast. I might take my time with this one, but I'm really excited to finally pick up Wives and Daughters, finally have a copy. I didn't even own that last year. And then the next 3 are not quite as chunky, and they all but Gone with the Wind could be read during Victober, but you know I'm not reading all these in the same month because I would not be able to do that. We have The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. I don't honestly know very much about this at all. Anything. But I know a lot of people were reading this in Victober this year and recommending it, and just from how they were talking about it made me want to pick it up. So I did grab this from Book Outlet in my Black Friday haul. In love with the beautiful heiress Laura Fairley, the impoverished art teacher Walter Hartwright finds his romantic desires thwarted by her previous engagement to Sir Percival Glyde. But all is not as it seems with Sir Percival, as becomes clear when he arrives with his eccentric friend, Count Fosco. The mystery and intrigue are further deepened by the ghostly appearances of a woman in white, apparently harboring a secret that concerns Sir Percival's past. A tale of love, madness, deceit, and redemption, boasting sublime Gothic settings and pulse-quickening suspense. The Woman in White was the first best-selling Victorian sensation novel, sparking off a huge trend in the fiction of the time with its compulsive, fascinating narrative. It sounds really good. It sounds like a soap opera, like all these people involved, love triangles galore, woman, a ghostly apparition, Gothic kind of a feel. This sounds fantastic. I'm really excited to read that one. And then I saw a preview for this movie, Far from the Maddening Crowd. It's not out yet, but it's coming in 2020. Thomas Hardy's Far from the Maddening Crowd, and I definitely want to read this book before seeing the movie. This is another romance. Bathsheba Everdeen is a headstrong young woman who attracts the attentions of a succession of suitors, a steadfast sheep farmer, a handsome soldier, and an older, wealthy landowner. As the men vie for her attention, she struggles to retain her independence of spirit in the face of their declarations. Yay. I'm excited. The movie really made me want to pick this up even more. I had already heard, I think it's Doris, it says that this is one of her favorite romances in a novel. So I'm really excited to read that. And finally, I have Agnes Gray by Anne Bronte. This is a much shorter little classic. I need to have a short one in the midst of all these other chunkers. This one is the well-educated daughter of a penniless clergyman. Agnes Gray is treated like a child by her family and so sets out to prove herself by seeking employment as a governess. Soon, however, her idealistic notions regarding the education and care of her wards are dashed as she battles to control the wild Bloomfield children in her first situation, and is then held in low regard by the superior Murray household. Drawing on her own experiences and dealing with themes such as the nature of childhood, the rise of the middle class, and the loneliness, cruelty, and even ill treatment that life as a governess could entail, Agnes Gray is full of quiet passion and remains a beloved classic to this day. Fabulous. It's about a nanny, and I'm a nanny, so perfect fit for me. I'm excited. Here are the 5 classics that I hope to read in 2019. Nope, 2020. Oh my word, I can't believe it's a new decade. This is a lot of reading right here. I'm excited though. I really am looking forward to all of these. I think it's gonna be a great reading year again. And I'm really pleased with how I did with my classics in 2019. So that's it. What was the best classic that you guys read in 2019? Let's comment down below about that. Also about anything else, about these books that I mentioned, about, you know, anything. I love chatting with you down there, and I will talk to you in another video tomorrow. Bye.